The black Mercedes convertible sat dead in the supermarket parking lot under the scorching Arizona sun, and Penelope Sterling had never felt more helpless in her 32 years of life. She pressed the ignition button again, hoping for a miracle, but was met with the same depressing silence. Her phone showed 2% battery, her assistant was out of town, and she had no idea what to do with a car that simply refused to start. She stepped out of the vehicle, her designer heels clicking against the hot asphalt, and looked around the moderately busy parking lot. Most people hurried past with their grocery carts, avoiding eye contact. She noticed a man loading paper bags into an old Ford pickup truck a few spaces away. He looked to be in his mid-30s, wearing jeans and a faded blue work shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing tanned, muscular forearms. A little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, sat in the truck's cab, her legs swinging back and forth. Penelope approached cautiously, smoothing down her cream silk blouse. "Excuse me, I am really sorry to bother you, but my car would not start. I do not suppose you know anything about cars." The man turned around, and she was struck by his warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners when he gave her a friendly smile. He had short, dark hair, a strong jaw shadowed with stubble, and an honest face that immediately put her at ease. "Let me take a look," he said without hesitation. "Graham Russell," he introduced himself, wiping his hand on his jeans before extending it to her. "Penelope Sterling," she replied, shaking his hand. His grip was firm and calloused, the hand of someone who worked with them daily. He walked over to her Mercedes with Penelope following close behind. "Nice car," he commented neutrally, leaning over to peer inside. "When you turn the key, does anything happen at all? Any sounds, lights?" "Nothing, it is completely dead. Probably the battery." He straightened up. "Pop the hood for me." Penelope hesitated, realizing she had no idea how to do that. Graham noticed her uncertainty and reached inside the car himself, finding the release. The hood lifted with a smooth, mechanical sound. He examined the engine compartment with practiced ease, checking connections and tapping a few components. "Yeah, your battery terminals are corroded pretty bad. See this white powder here? That is preventing a good connection, probably why it would not start. Can you fix it?" Penelope asked hopefully. "I can clean the terminals, see if that helps. If the battery itself is dead, you will need a jump." He glanced back at his truck. "Let me grab some tools. Be right back." He jogged to his pickup and said something to the little girl inside, who nodded enthusiastically. He returned with a small toolbox and a bottle of water. "Is that your daughter?" Penelope asked as he worked on loosening the battery terminals. "Yeah, that is Emma. She is 6. His voice was full of warmth when he spoke about her. "We just finished our weekly grocery run." Penelope watched him work, impressed by his efficiency and knowledge. He used a wire brush from his toolbox to clean the terminals, talking as he worked. "These luxury cars are great until something goes wrong. Then you need a computer just to figure out what is happening." "You seem to know what you are doing," she observed. "I am a mechanic." "Well, I work at Hanson's auto shop downtown, been there about 8 years now." He finished cleaning the terminals and tightened them back down. "Okay, try starting it now." Penelope slid into the driver's seat and pressed the button. The engine purred to life immediately. She let out a relieved laugh. "Oh my God, thank you so much. How much do I owe you?" Graham was already closing the hood. "Nothing, happy to help." "Please, let me give you something for your time," Penelope insisted, reaching for her purse. He shook his head firmly. "I did not do it for money, just being neighborly. Anyone would have done the same." "Actually, several people walked right past me," Penelope said wryly. "You were the only one who stopped. At least let me give you something for your daughter, please." Graham's expression shifted, a mixture of pride and something else. "I appreciate the offer, but no. I helped because you needed help, not for a reward." That is not the kind of example I want to set for Emma. Penelope found herself speechless for a moment, genuinely taken aback. In her world of business deals and transactions, where everything had a price and everyone had an angle, His simple honesty was startling. "That is really kind of you." "Truly." He gave her that warm smile again. "You should probably get your battery checked out properly. This might be a temporary fix." "I will do that. Thank you again, Graham. No problem. Drive safe." He gathered his tools and headed back to his truck. Penelope sat in her running car, watching him in her rearview mirror as he climbed into his old Ford and drove away with his daughter. She could not remember the last time someone had refused her money or help without wanting something in return. The encounter stayed with her long after she drove away. The next morning, Penelope sat in her corner office on the 45th floor of the Sterling Tower, staring out at the Phoenix skyline, but not really seeing it. Her company, Sterling Innovations, had just closed a major acquisition, and she should have been celebrating. Instead, her mind kept drifting back to the mechanic in the parking lot. Her assistant, Julia, knocked and entered with her usual efficiency. "Your 10 o'clock is here." "The investors from Seattle." "Give me 5 minutes," Penelope said, still looking out the window. "Julia, do you know where Hanson's auto shop is?" Julia looked surprised. "The mechanic place on 5th Street. I think so. Why?" "Just wondering. Send the investors in." The meeting went well, as most of her meetings did. Penelope had built Sterling Innovations from the ground up over the past decade, turning a small tech startup into a major player in software development and artificial intelligence. She was sharp, driven, and had an instinct for business that had made her a billionaire by 30. But it had cost her too. 2 failed relationships, countless missed social events, and a loneliness that no amount of success could fill. That evening, instead of staying late at the office like usual, Penelope found herself driving toward 5th Street. She told herself it was just to get her car properly checked, but she knew that was not entirely true. There was something about Graham Russell's honesty that had touched something in her, made her want to know more about this man who helped strangers without expecting anything in return. Hanson's auto shop was a modest building with 3 garage bays and a small office. The sign had seen better days, but the place looked clean and well-maintained. Penelope pulled into the lot, suddenly feeling nervous, which was ridiculous. She was a billionaire CEO who regularly negotiated million-dollar deals. Why should she be nervous about talking to a mechanic? She walked into the office, where an older man with gray hair sat behind the counter reading a newspaper. He looked up with a friendly smile. "Help you?" "Hi, I am looking for Graham Russell. He helped me yesterday with my car, and I wanted to get the battery checked properly like he suggested." "Graham," the man called toward the garage. "Customer for you." He looked back at Penelope. "He will be right out. I am Bill Hanson, owner of this fine establishment." Graham emerged from one of the bays, wiping grease from his hands with a red rag. He looked surprised to see her. "Penelope, right?" "Everything okay with the car?" "Yes, it has been fine, but you said I should get it checked out, so here I am." A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "You drove across town to our little shop. There are Mercedes dealerships that would be closer." "I trust your opinion," she said simply. Something flickered in his eyes, an emotion she could not quite read. "Okay then. Let me finish up with the car I am working on and I will take a look. Probably about 20 minutes. I will wait." The office had a few plastic chairs and old magazines. Penelope sat down, feeling completely out of her element, but oddly comfortable. Bill Hanson went back to his newspaper, and she could hear the sounds of tools and work from the garage. It was all so different from her usual world of glass offices and silent conference rooms. Emma bounded into the office from a back room, her pigtails bouncing. She stopped short when she saw Penelope. "Hello," she said shyly. "Hello," Penelope replied with a smile. "You are Emma, right? Your dad told me about you." The little girl nodded. "He helped you with your car." "He did." "He was very helpful." "Dad fixes everything," Emma said with absolute confidence. "He is the best mechanic in the whole world." "I believe it," Penelope said warmly. Graham appeared in the doorway. "Emma, are you bothering people?" "She is not bothering me at all," Penelope assured him. "We are just talking." Okay, I can look at your car now if you want to pull it into Bay 3. Penelope moved her Mercedes into the garage, and Graham lifted it on the hydraulic system. Watching him work was fascinating. He moved with confidence and precision, his hands sure and steady. He was completely focused on the task, and she found herself watching him more than the car. "Your battery is actually okay," he said after about 15 minutes. "It just needed those terminals cleaned, but your alternator belt is looking a little worn. Might want to replace that soon." "I can do it now if you want. Take about 30 minutes. "Please," Penelope said. While he worked, they talked. She learned that he was 34, had been a mechanic since he was 18, and loved his job. Emma's mother had left when Emma was 2, unable to handle the responsibility of motherhood. He had been raising her alone ever since. "That must be really hard," Penelope said softly. Graham shrugged, not looking up from his work. "You do what you have to do for your kid." "Emma is the best thing that ever happened to me. Sure, money is tight sometimes, and I worry about giving her everything she deserves, but we have each other. That is what matters." His simple devotion to his daughter made Penelope's heart ache. "She seems like a wonderful little girl." "She is." Now he did look up, and his smile was radiant. "Smart as a whip, kind, curious about everything. I am lucky." When he finished, he lowered the car and wrote up an invoice. Penelope looked at the total and tried not to laugh. It was less than what she spent on lunch most days. "This cannot be right," she said. "Just parts and labor, standard rate." She paid with her credit card, and he walked her out to her car. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Thank you again," she said, hesitating before opening her car door. "For everything." "Just doing my job," he replied. "Graham," she said impulsively. "Would you like to have coffee sometime? As a thank you." He looked surprised, then thoughtful. "You do not have to thank me, I know, but I would like to, if you would like to, I mean." A slow smile spread across his face. "Yeah, okay. I would like that." They exchanged phone numbers, and Penelope drove away feeling lighter than she had in months. She did not analyze why a simple coffee invitation made her so happy. She just let herself enjoy the feeling. They met for coffee 3 days later at a small cafe near the auto shop. Graham showed up in clean jeans and a button-down shirt, his hair still damp from a shower. Penelope had agonized over what to wear, finally settling on dark jeans and a simple sweater, wanting to look approachable rather than intimidating. "Sorry if I smell like engine grease," Graham joked as they sat down with their drinks. "Sometimes it does not matter how much you scrub." "You smell fine," Penelope assured him, and she meant it. There was something appealing about the faint scent of soap and something uniquely him. They talked for 2 hours, the conversation flowing easily. He told her about growing up in a small town in Colorado, how his dad had taught him about cars, and how he had moved to Phoenix for a fresh start after Emma's mother left. "What about you?" he asked. "What do you do? You never said." Penelope hesitated. This was always the moment when everything changed, when people started treating her differently. "I work in technology, software development." "That is cool, you must be smart," she laughed. "I have a good team." "You are being modest, I can tell. What company?" She took a sip of her coffee. "Sterling Innovations." His eyes widened. "Wait, the Sterling Innovations? I have read about your company. You are doing that stuff with artificial intelligence, right? And you—" "Oh." Realization dawned on his face. "Sterling, you are not just working there, you own it." "I started it," she confirmed quietly, watching his reaction carefully. He leaned back in his chair, studying her. "Wow, okay, that is impressive. Does it change anything?" she asked directly. "Should it?" "It usually does." Graham considered this. "I guess I am just surprised." "You drove an expensive car, but lots of people have nice cars. I did not realize you were, like, billionaire level." "Does it bother you?" "Why would it bother me? Good for you for being successful. That is amazing, really." He paused. "But I am still not taking your money for helping you in that parking lot." Penelope laughed, genuinely delighted. "Fair enough." They kept talking, and she was relieved to find that he really did not treat her any differently. He was curious about her work, asked intelligent questions, but he was not intimidated or overly impressed. He was just Graham, warm and honest and real. "Can I ask you something?" he said as they were getting ready to leave. "Of course." "Why did you ask me to coffee?" "I mean, you are this successful businesswoman. I am a mechanic. We are from pretty different worlds." Penelope met his eyes. "Because you were kind to me without wanting anything in return. Because you are raising a daughter on your own and doing it with love and dedication. Because talking to you is easy and makes me happy. Is that enough reason?" A slow smile spread across his face. "Yeah, that is enough reason. Can I ask you to dinner? A real one where I pay, because this is me asking you on a date." Her heart did a little flip. "I would love that." Their first real date was at a local Italian restaurant, nothing fancy but with excellent food and a cozy atmosphere. Graham had gotten his neighbor to watch Emma, and he was clearly nervous, which Penelope found endearing. "I have not done this in a while," he admitted over breadsticks. "Dating, I mean. Emma takes up most of my time and energy, and most women are not really interested in dating a guy with a kid and a mechanic's salary." "Then they are foolish," Penelope said firmly. "Emma is wonderful, and what you do is honest work that helps people. There is no shame in that." "I am not ashamed," he said quickly. "I love my job and my daughter. It is just sometimes it feels like I am barely keeping my head above water, you know? Making sure Emma has what she needs, saving for her future, keeping food on the table and a roof over our heads. It does not leave much room for anything else. That must be exhausting. It is what it is," he said with a shrug, "but I would not trade it. Emma is worth everything." Penelope found herself telling him things she rarely shared. About building her company from nothing, the long hours and sacrifices, the relationships that failed because she was always working. "I am 32 years old, and I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes, but I go home to an empty penthouse every night. Sometimes I wonder what the point of all this success is if I have no one to share it with." Graham reached across the table and took her hand. "You are not empty, Penelope. You are driven and successful and maybe a little lonely, but you are not empty. Anyone who takes the time to know you would see that." His words and the warmth of his hand made her throat tight with emotion. When was the last time someone had really seen her, not just the successful CEO, but the woman underneath? They went on more dates over the next few weeks. Graham took her to places she had never been. Simple places like the local park where he took Emma on weekends, a street fair with food trucks and live music, a high school football game where they ate hot dogs and cheered with the crowd. Penelope showed him her world too, taking him to a gallery opening, a charity gala where he looked uncomfortable in a rented tux, but stayed by her side all evening, a quiet dinner at an upscale restaurant where they talked until the staff wanted to close. Emma was always part of the equation, and Penelope was fine with that. Graham arranged their dates carefully around his daughter's schedule, sometimes cutting them short if Emma needed something. Penelope started to get to know the little girl better when Graham invited her to Saturday morning pancakes at their apartment. The apartment was small but clean and filled with signs of their life together. Emma's drawings covered the refrigerator, toys were neatly stored in bins in one corner of the living room, and there was a photo on the wall of Graham and Emma at the beach, both grinning at the camera. "This is nice," Penelope said, meaning it. The apartment had something her penthouse lacked. It felt like a home. Emma was initially shy around Penelope, but she warmed up quickly, especially when Penelope sat on the floor to play with her dolls. Graham made pancakes in the tiny kitchen, and they ate together at the small table, Emma chattering about school and her friends. "Do you want to see my room?" Emma asked after breakfast. "I would love to," Penelope replied. Emma's room was tiny but perfect for her. A twin bed with a purple comforter, shelves with books and toys, and more drawings taped to the walls. Emma showed her everything with pride, explaining the story behind each drawing. "This is my dad," she said, pointing to a stick figure. "And this is me. And this is our dog that we are going to get someday when we have enough money." Graham appeared in the doorway. "Showing off your room, kiddo?" "Penelope likes my drawings," Emma announced. "They are beautiful," Penelope said honestly. That evening, after Emma went to bed, Graham walked Penelope to her car. "Thank you for today," he said. "It means a lot that you spend time with Emma. A lot of women would not want to deal with the single dad package." "Emma is part of who you are," Penelope said, "and she is a great kid. I like spending time with both of you." He kissed her then, soft and sweet under the streetlight. It was their first kiss, and it felt like coming home. "I am falling for you," he whispered against her lips. "I probably should not say that so soon, but I do not believe in playing games." "I am falling for you too," she whispered back. Their relationship deepened over the following months. Penelope found herself thinking about Graham constantly, missing him when they were apart, lighting up when he called or texted. She started leaving work earlier, something her staff noticed with surprise, wanting to spend more time with him and Emma. Graham was different from anyone she had dated before. He was steady and genuine, and he never wanted anything from her except her time and attention. He insisted on paying for dates when he planned them, even though she knew it stretched his budget. When she protested, he was firm. "I know you have more money than me, a lot more, but that does not mean I cannot treat you right. Let me do this my way." His pride was not about ego. It was about being the kind of man he wanted to be, and she respected that. But she found other ways to help without making it obvious. She had Julia arrange for Bill Hansen to get a lucrative contract, maintaining the vehicles in Sterling Innovations' company fleet. Bill hired Graham to manage the account, which came with a significant raise. When Graham called her, excited and grateful, she played innocent. "Bill does good work. It makes sense for the company." "This changes everything for me and Emma," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I can start saving for her college fund, maybe move us to a better apartment." "You deserve good things," Penelope said softly. "Both of you do." She also made sure that Emma's school received an anonymous donation that funded a new art program, knowing how much Emma loved to draw. Graham mentioned it one evening, amazed at their good fortune. "Emma is so excited. They are getting real art supplies and a teacher who is an actual artist. She talks about it nonstop." Penelope smiled, her secret bringing her joy. As their relationship grew more serious, Graham started to worry about the differences in their lifestyles. "What are we doing here?" he asked one night when they were alone at his apartment. "Really? What do you mean?" "I mean, you are a billionaire. You live in a penthouse and run a major company. I am a mechanic who lives in a 2-bedroom apartment and clips coupons. How is this supposed to work long-term?" Penelope took his face in her hands. "It works because we care about each other, because you make me laugh and you make me feel seen. Because I have never been happier than I am with you and Emma. The rest is just details. Those are pretty big details. Then we will figure them out together," she said firmly. "If you want to, do you want to?" He pulled her close. "Yes, God, yes, I love you, Penelope. I know it is fast, but I do. I love you." "I love you too," she said, and it felt like the truest thing she had ever said. They talked into the early hours of the morning about their fears and hopes. Graham worried about being able to give her the life she was used to, worried that his world was too small. Penelope worried about overwhelming him with her world, about Emma getting attached, and then hurt if things did not work out. "We have to be sure," Graham said. "Because of Emma. I cannot bring someone into her life who is not going to stay. She has already lost her mother. I will not let her lose anyone else." "I understand, and I am sure," Penelope said. "Are you?" "Yeah, I am sure." Meeting Emma's needs became one of Penelope's top priorities. She made sure that Graham had the flexibility to be there for every school event, every parent-teacher conference, every moment that mattered. When Emma got sick with the flu, Penelope took time off work to help Graham care for her, bringing soup and medicine and reading stories while Graham caught up on sleep. "You did not have to do this," Graham said. watching her settle Emma on the couch with a blanket. "I wanted to," Penelope replied simply. "She is important to you, which makes her important to me." Emma recovered quickly, and she started calling Penelope Miss P, which then became just P, said with affection and trust. Penelope found herself loving this little girl fiercely, wanting to protect her and make her happy. 6 months into their relationship, Graham took Penelope to meet his father in Colorado. George Russell was a weathered man in his 60s who ran a small garage in his hometown. He looked Penelope over with shrewd eyes when they arrived. "So you are the one who has my son all tied up in knots," he said gruffly. "Dad," Graham protested. "It is okay," Penelope said with a smile. "I hope they are good knots." George cracked a smile. "She has spirit, I like that." "Come on, I will make you kids some lunch." Over the next 2 days, Penelope learned more about Graham's past. George showed her pictures of Graham as a boy, always with grease on his hands, always smiling. He told her about Graham's mother, who had died when Graham was 12, and how Graham had helped him keep the garage running while still in high school. "My son is the best man I know," George said seriously. "He works hard, loves his daughter, and always does the right thing. But he has not had it easy. That girl Emma's mother left them high and dry, did not even look back. It nearly broke him." "I am not going anywhere," Penelope said firmly. George studied her. "You mean that?" "I do." "Then you have my blessing for what it is worth." On the drive back to Phoenix, Graham was quiet. Finally, he said, "My dad really likes you. He does not warm up to people easily." "I like him too. I can see where you get your strength from." "I want to ask you something," Graham said, his hands tightening on the steering wheel. "And you can say no. But would you consider meeting Emma's therapist with me? Emma is in therapy?" "Yeah. After her mom left, she had some attachment issues. We have been working through it. She is doing great now, but Dr. Mills thinks it would be good to talk about me being in a serious relationship, to make sure we are handling it right." "Of course I will come," Penelope said immediately. "Whatever Emma needs." The meeting with Dr. Mills was enlightening. The therapist, a kind woman in her 50s, asked thoughtful questions about their relationship and how they were including Emma. "Emma talks about you a lot," Dr. Mills told Penelope. "She seems very fond of you." "I am very fond of her." "Graham, how are you feeling about the relationship?" Dr. Mills asked. "Like I am the luckiest guy alive," Graham said honestly. "But scared too. Scared of messing it up. Scared that our different backgrounds will be too much to overcome. Scared of what it means for Emma if things do not work out." "Those are valid fears," Dr. Mills acknowledged. "Penelope, what are your intentions here?" "I love Graham," Penelope said clearly. "And I love Emma. I want to be part of their lives for the long term if they will have me. I know my lifestyle is different from theirs, but I do not care about that. They make me happy in a way nothing else ever has." Dr. Mills smiled. "Then my advice is to keep communicating, keep putting Emma's needs first, and be honest with each other. Emma is resilient and secure in her father's love. She can handle her father being in a loving relationship as long as you are both consistent and caring with her." Leaving the office, Graham took Penelope's hand. "Thank you for doing this, for taking it seriously. Emma's well-being matters to me." "Of course I take it seriously." They went to dinner, and over pasta and wine, they talked about the future more concretely than they ever had before. "I want you to move in with us," Graham said suddenly. Penelope nearly choked on her wine. "What?" "I know it is a lot. And I know my apartment is tiny compared to what you are used to, but I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want us to be a family." "Your apartment is too small for 3 people," Penelope said practically. Graham's face fell. "Right. Yeah, I know it is not what you are used to." "No, you misunderstand me," Penelope said quickly. "I am not saying no. I am saying we need a bigger place. Let me help with that." "I cannot let you buy us a house," Graham said firmly. "Then do not think of it that way. Think of it as me investing in our future together. Or let me buy a house that we live in together. You pay what you can afford, and I cover the rest." Please, Graham, I do not need your pride to be more important than our happiness. He was quiet for a long moment. This is hard for me. I am supposed to be the provider. Says who? Penelope challenged gently. We are partners. We provide for each other in different ways. You give me love and laughter and a family. Let me give us a home where we can be comfortable, where Emma can have her own room and a yard to play in. You would do that, in a heartbeat. If you will let me. Graham reached across the table and took both her hands. Okay, but I pay for groceries and utilities and anything else I can manage. Deal? Deal. They told Emma the next day. She was eating cereal at the kitchen table when they sat down with her. Sweetie, we want to talk to you about something, Graham began. How would you feel if Penelope lived with us? Emma's eyes went wide. Really? Like all the time? Like all the time, Penelope confirmed. And we would get a bigger place so everyone has their own space. With a yard where you could play. And a dog, Emma asked hopefully. Graham laughed. Maybe eventually. Yes, Emma threw her arms around Penelope. I want you to live with us forever. Over her head, Graham and Penelope's eyes met, full of hope and love. Finding the right house took 3 weeks. Penelope wanted Graham to feel comfortable with the choice, so she looked at homes in safe, middle-class neighborhoods rather than the wealthy enclaves she could easily afford. They found a 4-bedroom house with a big backyard, in a good school district, with a reasonable price tag. Reasonable, in this case, still meant more than Graham could ever afford on his own, but the mortgage payment Penelope proposed was within his reach. She would pay the down payment and cover the difference. It was not charity, she insisted. It was their home together. Graham walked through the house a second time with Emma, who was already picking out which room would be hers. He ran his hand over the kitchen counter, looked out at the backyard, and then pulled Penelope aside. This is too much, he said, but his voice was thick with emotion. It is exactly right, Penelope countered. Look at Emma's face. Look at this kitchen where we can cook together. This is our home, Graham. Say yes. Yes, he whispered, pulling her into his arms. Yes to all of it, to this house and to us and to our future. They moved in 2 months later. Graham insisted on hiring movers with his own money, his one contribution to the move that Penelope allowed without argument. Emma's new room was painted purple per her request, and Penelope spent a weekend helping her arrange all her toys and drawings. This is the best room ever, Emma declared, spinning in the middle of it. I am glad you love it, Penelope said, sitting on the floor next to her. Emma climbed into her lap, something she had started doing more often. Are you going to be my new mom? Penelope's heart clenched. Would you want that? I do not remember my old mom, Emma said matter-of-factly. Dad says she was not ready to be a mom, but you are good at it. You make my lunch and you play with me and you make Dad smile all the time. Your dad makes me smile too, Penelope said softly. And I love you very much, Emma. I love you too, P. Emma hugged her tight. That night, after Emma was asleep in her new room, Graham and Penelope stood in the backyard under the stars. Emma asked me if I am going to be her new mom, Penelope said. Graham tensed. What did you say? I told her I love her. Was that okay? It was perfect. He turned to face her. You are perfect. This is perfect. I keep waiting for something to go wrong because this all feels too good to be true. It is not too good to be true. We worked for this. We communicated and we made compromises and we put Emma first. This is what love is supposed to look like. Marry me, Graham said suddenly. Penelope blinked. What? I know I do not have a ring yet. I have been saving up, but nice rings are expensive, but I do not want to wait anymore. Marry me, Penelope. Be my wife, be Emma's mom. Let us make this official. Yes, Penelope said without hesitation. Yes, I will marry you, and I do not care about the ring. I care about the ring, Graham said. I want to do this right. Give me 2 more weeks, okay? Then I will ask you properly. She laughed, kissing him. Okay, 2 weeks. Graham planned the proposal with the same care he put into everything. He took Penelope and Emma to the park where he had taken her on one of their early dates. Emma was in on the plan, barely able to contain her excitement. They had a picnic, played on the swings, and fed the ducks in the pond. Then, as the sun started to set, Graham got down on one knee. "Penelope Sterling, you walked into my life in a supermarket parking lot and turned my whole world upside down. You are brilliant and kind, and you love my daughter like she is your own. You make me want to be a better man. Will you marry me?" He opened a small box, revealing a simple but beautiful diamond ring. Penelope recognized it as an antique style, probably bought secondhand to stay within his budget, and it was absolutely perfect. "Yes," she said through tears. "Yes, yes, yes." Emma cheered and rushed over to hug them both. People in the park clapped and congratulated them. Graham slid the ring onto her finger with hands that shook slightly. "I love you," he said. "I love you too." They decided on a small wedding, just close friends and family. Penelope's business associates were surprised when she sent out invitations to a backyard ceremony instead of some elaborate affair at a five-star hotel. Her few close friends were happy to see her so genuinely in love. Graham's father flew in early to help with preparations. He and Penelope had grown close over phone calls and video chats, and he approved wholeheartedly of the marriage. "You are good for my boy," George told her the night before the wedding. "He is happier than I have ever seen him." "He is good for me too," Penelope replied. "I did not know I could be this happy." Emma was the flower girl, taking her role very seriously. She practiced walking down the aisle a dozen times, carefully dropping petals. Penelope had let her pick out her own dress, and Emma had chosen a purple one that matched her room. The ceremony was in their backyard on a perfect spring day. Penelope wore a simple white dress, elegant but not ostentatious. Graham wore a dark suit that emphasized his broad shoulders and honest eyes. When he saw her walking toward him, tears streamed down his face unashamedly. "You are beautiful," he whispered when she reached him. "You are not so bad yourself," she whispered back with a smile. They had written their own vows. Graham went first, his voice steady despite his emotion. "Penelope, before I met you, my world was small but good. I had Emma and my work, and that felt like enough. But you showed me that life could be bigger and fuller without losing what matters most. You did not try to change me or fix me. You just loved me as I am. You love my daughter as your own. You make every day brighter just by being in it. I promise to love you fiercely, to support your dreams, to be your partner in every way. I promise to never take this gift of your love for granted." There was not a dry eye in the audience. Penelope took a shaky breath before starting her own vows. "Graham, you taught me that success is not measured in money or power, but in love and connection. You showed me that honesty and integrity and kindness are not weaknesses, but strengths. You gave me a family when I did not even know I was missing one. You see me, the real me behind the CEO and the business suits, and you love that person. I promise to love you and Emma with everything I have. I promise to be your partner, your friend, your wife. I promise to build a life with you that is full of joy and laughter and love." The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and they kissed while their small gathering cheered. Emma rushed up to hug them both, and they stood there as a family, complete. The reception was casual and fun, with barbecue and dancing in the backyard. Penelope had hired a band that played a mix of country and rock, and everyone had a good time. She danced with Graham, with George, and with several of Graham's friends from the auto shop. Graham danced with Emma, swinging her around until she shrieked with laughter. Later, when they cut the cake, Emma stood between them, and they each gave her a piece first before serving themselves. It was a small moment, but it symbolized what they were building. A family where Emma always came first. That night, after Emma was tucked into bed and the guests had left, Graham and Penelope stood in their bedroom, now officially husband and wife. "We did it," Graham said, pulling her close. "We did it," Penelope agreed. "I am going to spend the rest of my life making you happy," he promised. "You already do," she said, kissing him. "Every single day." Life settled into a beautiful rhythm over the following months. Penelope continued running Sterling Innovations, but with better work-life balance. She made it home for dinner most nights, helped Emma with homework, and went to every school event. Graham thrived with the financial security and family support, taking on more responsibility at the auto shop, and even teaching a night class on auto mechanics at the community college. Emma blossomed with the stability and love. Her grades were excellent, she made friends easily, and she started taking art classes after school. She still saw Dr. Mills occasionally, but the therapist agreed that Emma was well-adjusted and happy. "Can I call you Mom?" Emma asked Penelope one evening while they were drawing together. Penelope's eyes filled with tears. "I would love that, but only if you are comfortable with it." "I want to," Emma said firmly. "You are my mom. You take care of me and you love me and you are married to my dad." "That makes you my mom." "Then yes, sweetheart, you can call me Mom." The first time Emma said Mom in casual conversation, Penelope had to excuse herself to cry happy tears in the bathroom. Graham found her there and held her. "You okay?" he asked with a knowing smile. "I am more than okay. I am happy, so incredibly happy." "Me too," he said, kissing her forehead. "Me too." They celebrated their first anniversary with a family trip to Disneyland, Emma's choice of destination. Watching Graham and Emma's faces light up on the rides was worth more to Penelope than any business deal she had ever closed. They took countless photos, ate too much junk food, and stayed until the park closed. "This was the best day ever," Emma declared as she fell asleep in the hotel room between them. "Yeah, it was," Graham agreed, reaching over their sleeping daughter to take Penelope's hand. 2 years into their marriage, Penelope surprised Graham with news that changed everything. They were having dinner after putting Emma to bed when she slid an envelope across the table to him. "What is this?" he asked. "Open it." Inside was a photo from an ultrasound. Graham stared at it, his expression shifting from confusion to shock to pure joy. "You are pregnant." 12 weeks, Penelope confirmed with a huge smile. "Surprise, we are having a baby." His voice cracked with emotion. "We are having a baby." He came around the table and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "I cannot believe it. Another baby. Emma is going to lose her mind." "Should we tell her tomorrow?" "Let us tell her together at breakfast." Emma's reaction was everything they hoped for and more. She screamed with excitement, danced around the kitchen, and immediately started planning how she would be the best big sister ever. "Can we name her Princess?" Emma asked seriously. "The baby might be a boy," Graham pointed out. "Then we can name him Prince," Emma said with perfect 8-year-old logic. They laughed, and Penelope felt a rush of love for her family so intense it almost hurt. This was everything she had never known she wanted. The pregnancy was healthy and relatively easy. Graham was attentive and sweet, making sure Penelope did not overwork herself. Emma talked to the baby bump every day, telling her future sibling all about their family and school and anything else that came to mind. They decided not to find out the gender, wanting it to be a surprise. The nursery was decorated in shades of green and yellow, and Emma helped pick out toys and clothes. "The baby is going to love you so much," Penelope told Emma as they folded tiny onesies together. "I am going to protect them and teach them everything," Emma promised solemnly. Penelope went into labor on a sunny Saturday morning. Graham stayed calm and collected, getting her to the hospital efficiently while his father came to stay with Emma. The labor was long but ultimately uncomplicated, and at 7:23 p.m. they welcomed a healthy baby boy into the world. "He is perfect," Graham whispered, tears streaming down his face as he held his son for the first time. "He really is," Penelope agreed, exhausted but elated. They named him Gabriel Russell, and Emma met her little brother the next day, holding him with the careful attention of a loving big sister. "Hi, Gabriel," she whispered. "I am your big sister Emma. I am going to take care of you forever." Watching his family, Graham felt overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you," he told Penelope. "For what?" "For this, for all of it. for taking a chance on a mechanic in a parking lot, for loving Emma, for giving me Gabriel. For making my life so much bigger and better than I ever imagined it could be. You gave me just as much, Penelope said, taking his hand. You gave me love and family and a life that means something beyond work. We gave these gifts to each other. Bringing Gabriel home was an adjustment, but a joyful one. Emma took her big sister duties seriously, always wanting to help with bottles and diaper changes. Graham was an experienced dad and jumped right into the sleepless nights and constant care. Penelope discovered that being a mother to a newborn was both harder and more rewarding than running a company. She took maternity leave for 3 months, something her board of directors supported fully. Julia managed things at Sterling Innovations with video calls for anything urgent. For the first time in years, Penelope was not the center of her business, and she found she was okay with that. Better than okay, actually. I never thought I would be the type to stay home with a baby, she told Graham one night as she rocked Gabriel to sleep. You are good at it, he observed. You are good at everything you care about. I care about this more than anything, she said. You, Emma Gabriel, you are my real success story. When she did return to work, it was with reduced hours and a commitment to being home by 6 every evening. Her company did not fall apart. In fact, giving more autonomy to her team led to innovation and growth. She was still the CEO, still involved in major decisions, but she was not the only person holding everything together anymore. Graham got a promotion to shop manager at Hanson's, which came with a significant raise and more flexible hours. He was proud of earning it through hard work and merit, and Penelope was proud of him too. Bill Hanson was getting ready to retire and had been grooming Graham to eventually take over the business. I might be able to buy the shop in a few years, Graham told Penelope excitedly. Bill is willing to sell it to me at a fair price, and with what we have been saving, I could actually do it. That is amazing, Penelope said. You would be your own boss. It is a little scary, he admitted, but yeah, I think I want to do it. I believe in you. Whatever you decide, I support you. Life continued to unfold beautifully. Gabriel grew into a happy, curious toddler who adored his big sister. Emma became more confident and talented, her art winning awards at school. Graham bought Hanson's auto shop when Bill retired, renaming it Russell's Auto Services. Penelope launched a new AI initiative at her company that revolutionized the industry. Through it all, they remained grounded in their love for each other and their family. They had date nights every Friday, family dinners every Sunday, and bedtime routines that never wavered. They argued sometimes, about money or parenting decisions or whose turn it was to do dishes, but they always worked through it with honesty and respect. Emma graduated from elementary school with honors, giving a speech about following your dreams that made both her parents cry. Gabriel started preschool, bringing home paintings that Emma declared showed real promise. Graham's business thrived, his reputation for honest work and fair prices earning him loyal customers. Penelope continued to build her company while also starting a foundation to support single parents and their children. On their 5th anniversary, they renewed their vows in the same backyard where they were first married. Emma and Gabriel stood with them this time, a family united. 5 years ago, I married my best friend, Graham said in his new vows. Since then, we have built a life that exceeds my wildest dreams. We have grown together, faced challenges together, celebrated victories together. You are still the most amazing person I know, and I fall in love with you more every single day. Penelope's vows were equally heartfelt. You saw me when I felt invisible. You loved me when I felt unlovable. You gave me a family that fills my heart with more joy than I knew possible. These 5 years have been the best of my life, and I cannot wait to see what the next 50 bring us. As they kissed and their kids cheered, surrounded by friends and family in the home they had built together, Penelope reflected on how far they had come from that day in the parking lot. She had been lost then, successful but empty. Graham had been struggling, barely keeping his head above water while raising Emma alone. Neither of them had been looking for love that day. But Graham's simple honesty and kindness had opened a door to a future neither could have imagined. They had bridged the gap between their different worlds, not by erasing those differences, but by choosing love over fear, partnership over pride, and family over everything else. Years later, when people asked Penelope what her greatest achievement was, she never talked about her company or her wealth. She talked about her husband, who still worked as a mechanic because he loved it, about her daughter, who was now applying to art schools, about her son, who was thoughtful and kind, just like his father. She talked about building a life based on love and honesty and mutual respect. Graham would always tell anyone who listened that the luckiest day of his life was when a fancy car broke down in a parking lot, giving him the chance to help a beautiful stranger who would become his everything. Emma, now a teenager, would roll her eyes at her parents' mushiness, but secretly loved their love story. She would tell her friends that her parents proved that love could overcome any obstacle if you were brave enough to try. Gabriel, hearing the story of how his parents met countless times, always asked, "And then what happened?" Even though he knew the answer. "Then we lived happily ever after," Penelope would always say, kissing Graham and holding her children close, and they did. They built a life full of ordinary moments and extraordinary love. They faced new challenges as the years went on, different jobs, aging parents, kids growing up and starting their own adventures. But through it all, they held onto what mattered most: each other. Graham never regretted refusing that money in the parking lot all those years ago. His honesty had led him to a love worth more than any amount of cash. Penelope never regretted approaching that mechanic for help. His kindness had led her to a family worth more than any business success. They grew old together, surrounded by children and eventually grandchildren, building a legacy not of wealth or power, but of love and kindness, and the simple belief that doing the right thing, being honest, and treating others with respect could change your entire life. Their story was proof that sometimes the most important moments come when we least expect them, in parking lots and over dead car batteries, in small acts of kindness that ripple outward to create waves of change. It was proof that love does not care about bank accounts or social status, only about two hearts willing to be brave enough to try, and in the end, that was all that mattered. They had tried, they had loved, and they had built something beautiful together. A family, a home, a life full of meaning and joy. It was more than enough. It was everything.